The air, crisp with the promise of rain, carried the scent of ripening mangoes as Ndidi skipped ahead, her brother Emeka trailing behind. It was their weekly ritual, a trip to Mama Okafor's for fresh bread, the warmth of the oven-baked goodness drawing them in like moths to a flame. The path, etched deep into the earth by generations of feet, wound its way past weathered huts and vibrant patches of maize and cassava. The rhythmic chirping of crickets provided a steady beat to their journey, a familiar soundtrack to their childhood. Emeka, lost in thought, traced patterns in the red dust with his toes. He was due to start at the new school across the river next week, a prospect that filled him with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The thought of leaving his friends and the familiar rhythm of village life tugged at him, even as the promise of new experiences beckoned. Ndidi, sensing his unease, doubled back, her laughter like the tinkling of wind chimes. "Don't worry, Emeka," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Think of all the new friends you'll make, all the stories you'll have to tell." They reached the outskirts of the village, the path now leading them towards the Chania River, its waters usually a calm, shimmering ribbon reflecting the azure sky. Today, however, the river seemed different, a shade darker, its surface rippling with an unusual urgency. Rain must have fallen heavily upstream, Emeka mused, quickening his pace to catch up with Ndidi, who had already reached the riverbank. A group of women, their chatter as rhythmic as the pounding of pestle against mortar, balanced baskets on their heads, waiting to cross the narrow makeshift bridge. The bridge, a precarious structure of logs and rope, swayed precariously with each step. It was a familiar sight, a testament to the resourcefulness of their village and a constant reminder of the river's power. Emeka, despite having crossed it countless times, always felt a tremor of apprehension. Today the tremor escalated to a full-blown wave of unease as he watched the rushing water below. Ndidi, fearless as ever, skipped onto the bridge, her laughter echoing across the water. "Come on, slowpoke," she called out, her voice barely audible above the roar of the river. Emeka hesitated, his gaze fixed on the swirling current. The women, their faces etched with concern, urged him forward. "Don't worry, son," said Mama Nkiru, her voice soothing. "The bridge has seen worse. It will hold." Taking a deep breath, Emeka stepped onto the bridge, his hand instinctively reaching out to grip the rope railing. The bridge swayed, the logs groaning under his weight, and for a moment he felt a surge of panic. But then, he was moving, one careful step at a time, the rhythmic creaking of the bridge a strangely comforting counterpoint to the river's roar. Ndidi, now safely across, waited for him, her eyes dancing with amusement. "See, I told you it was easy," she exclaimed, her laughter ringing out, a beacon of lightheartedness in the face of Emeka's apprehension. As Emeka reached the other side, relief washed over him, leaving him feeling slightly foolish for his fear. He joined Ndidi under the shade of a baobab tree, its massive trunk a silent sentinel that had witnessed countless crossings, countless stories. The women continued on their way, their brightly patterned wrappers disappearing into the dense foliage on the other side. As Emeka and Ndidi resumed their walk, the air filled with the sounds of the forest, the chirping of insects, the rustle of leaves, and the occasional screech of a bird. Sunbeams, filtering through the dense canopy, painted dancing patterns on the forest floor, creating an ethereal, almost magical atmosphere. Emeka, his earlier anxieties forgotten, found himself caught up in the rhythm of the forest, the vibrant energy of life all around him. The thought of the new school no longer filled him with dread, but with a sense of anticipation. He was, after all, a son of the Chania, a river that had seen it all, a river that flowed on, ever onward, carrying with it the echoes of laughter and the promise of new beginnings. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted towards them as they emerged from the forest path, a welcome signal of their destination. Mama Okafor's mud brick bakery, with its thatched roof and welcoming open doorway, stood nestled amidst a cluster of huts. The air buzzed with activity, children chasing chickens, women drawing water from the well, and the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer. "Emeka, catch!" Ndidi exclaimed, tossing him a small, smooth stone they used for their game of I Spy. He fumbled, the stone slipping through his fingers. He bent down to retrieve it, his eyes scanning the ground. At that moment, a piercing scream tore through the air, followed by a splash. Emeka looked up, his heart pounding. Ndidi, who had been skipping ahead, was nowhere to be seen. "Ndidi!" he cried out, his voice shrill with panic. He scanned the area frantically, his gaze falling on a ripple in the river just beyond the bend. The current, stronger than usual, dragged a brightly colored cloth, Ndidi's head wrap downstream. Panic seized him. Ndidi has fallen in, he screamed, his voice cracking. His mind raced, a jumble of fear and confusion. He had to do something, anything, but his legs felt rooted to the spot, frozen by the sheer terror of it all. Mama Okafor, drawn by the commotion, rushed out of her bakery, her face etched with concern. "What is it, Emeka? What's wrong?" she demanded, her voice sharp with urgency. "Ndidi, River," he stammered, pointing towards the bend where the head wrap had disappeared. Mama Okafor didn't hesitate. With a swiftness that belied her age, she grabbed a long, sturdy branch from a nearby pile of firewood and raced towards the riverbank, Emeka hot on her heels. The current had carried Ndidi further downstream. She was struggling to stay afloat, her small arms flailing in the water. "Hold on, Ndidi, help is coming!" Mama Okafor yelled, her voice strong and steady, a lifeline of hope cutting through the roar of the river and Emeka's rising panic. She waded into the water, the muddy water swirling around her knees. Suddenly, it was as if the entire village had sprung into action. Men, women, and children came running from all directions, their voices raised in alarm and concern. Some grabbed ropes, others armed themselves with long sticks, their faces grim, yet their movements purposeful and coordinated. They formed a human chain, stretching from the bank towards Ndidi, their voices blending in a chorus of encouragement. Emeka, his initial paralysis overcome by a surge of adrenaline, joined the chain, his small hands gripping the rough bark of the branch ahead of him. He had never felt so connected to his community, so supported, so utterly reliant on the strength of others. Each pull, each tug on the branch was a testament to their collective will, their shared determination to save his sister. The tension was palpable, the air thick with a mixture of fear and hope. Then, in a moment that seemed to unfold in slow motion, Mama Okafor, with a final burst of strength, reached Ndidi. She thrust the branch towards the struggling girl, her voice hoarse but resolute. "Grab hold, child, don't let go!"